What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with some breaking news. It's been a couple hours now, but the Mariners have signed Cal Raleigh to a contract extension. According to Jeff Passan, this was 4 hours ago. Breaking: catcher Cal Raleigh and the Seattle Mariners are finalizing a 6-year, $105 million contract extension, sources tell ESPN. Deal starts this season and buys out 3 years of free agency, a huge deal to keep a franchise catcher in Seattle. So some fantastic news for the Mariners as we approach opening day in just 2 days. So do me a favor, hit that like button on the video. It helps get out to more people. Subscribe if you're new here and comment your thoughts on Cal Raleigh or anything Mariners down below. We're just 2 days away now from opening day, best time of the year, and the return of the post-game recap. So thank you all for watching. Fantastic news for the Seattle Mariners. It has been a rough offseason. Not rough in terms like they've lost anything, but just rough in terms of very inactive, right? I mean, Donovan Solano and Rowdy Tellez are about it, and Tellez was a non-roster invitee in spring training. So, the Mariners lock up a cornerstone player in Cal Raleigh. I think a lot of us really weren't sure would stick around. Was a Scott Boras client, not anymore. And he's been a little critical of the front office and ownership. I think probably more ownership from what I've read, but, I don't, it doesn't matter. So, we weren't really sure. And Cal's absolutely right to do that, by the way. But, we really weren't sure if this would be someone that would stick around long-term, and he is now. I'll get into the contract details in just a second, but I'll be honest, I don't really care about the contract details. Cal Raleigh is a tremendous player, tremendous teammate, tremendous leader, and someone that wants to stay a Seattle Mariner. And I think that matters more than the dollars and cents. When you're signing outside free agents, I care a little bit more because we're just not sure how it's going to work out. But we know Cal can play here, and we know what he means to the city, and that stuff does matter. Sometimes catchers don't age gracefully, and Cal does have some swing and miss in his game. So I certainly understand people may be critical, but we will break down the deal. I think it's very fair. I think it is a very fair contract. And like I said, I'm just excited. It's some great news before opening day. A little bit of goodwill, maybe back with the fan base. I'm not saying it makes up for all the inactivity this offseason, but, with a tough offseason being 2 days away from opening day, kudos to the ownership in the front office for getting this done. That's not me defending them, saying I like them, but if we're going to be critical of the bad, we got to give them credit on the good too. And they got this done, and that is fantastic news. Maybe they just announced that new streaming service and they just got the patches, right? They're doing the Nintendo patches on the side of the jersey. So maybe a little extra revenue allowed the Mariners to do it. Maybe the Nintendo patch has done it for the Mariners, and they have a few more bucks to spend now to get a player like Cal Raleigh locked up. So a couple reasons I like the deal, outside of the fact that Cal's really good at baseball and he'll be playing baseball for the Seattle Mariners for the foreseeable future. One, the Mariners have a bevy of young prospects on the way, right? You don't need to name them, but Cole Emerson, Cole Young, Montez, all the names. Arroyo. Sorry, I always got to throw one more in there. And some of them are going to hit. Some of them aren't. Like, some of them are going to bust. It's just baseball, right? For every 30 prospects, a handful of them don't pan out. But as those guys come up into the next wave of Seattle Mariners in the next few years, it's good to have some established veteran leaders that can show them what being a Seattle Mariner is all about. I know it sounds cheesy. This organization has struggled as a whole, but you guys know what I mean, right? Like, you need those leaders to help guide the young guys, to show them like, hey, this is what it takes to be a big leaguer every day. And Cal Raleigh is absolutely one of those guys. Absolutely a tremendous leader. And so having a veteran presence like that, we've talked about it with guys like Mitch Haniger. We can go back to Edgar, Dan Wilson. Happy birthday, Dan Wilson, as well. Guys like that know what it takes, knows what it takes to go through the grind of 162 that sometimes maybe these young guys can struggle with. So I think having Cal locked up for when those guys come up is huge. And maybe it encourages Logan Gilbert, George Kirby to also sign extensions with this ball club. You can't sign everybody. Some guys just want to test free agency. Seahawks won a Super Bowl, and guys like Golden Tate went elsewhere. So I'm not going to get on the Mariners for not locking everybody up. Some people just want to test the market, but hopefully this does maybe make Logan or Kirby, maybe both, probably not, more likely to stay here, seeing Cal be the first one to take the leap for this franchise. So those are just two kind of maybe a little under the radar reasons why, this could be a great move, outside of, like I said, the fact that Cal is locked up here long term, and great to see it before opening day. Because like I said, I think there's a little bit of, I think we're all excited for opening day. I think if you're a baseball fan, you just have to be, but there is a little bit of like, with the Mariners, there's just kind of that like, okay, like we've seen them do this before. We've seen this team before. So just a little something to get the fan base excited for opening day, I think is a good thing. Let's look at the contract details. Not that I'm an expert on any of this stuff, but we'll dive into a little bit. Jeff Passan has the contract details. One, there's a no trade clause, $10 million signing bonus. His salary this year will be $1 million. Next year, 2026, $11 million. 2027, $12 million. And then 2028 through 2030 will be $23 million each year. And then in 2031, he'll have a $20 million vesting player option with a $2 million buyout from the Mariners. So he'll have a player option in 2031 and a no trade clause as well. So Luis Castillo has that too. So not that I'm worried about now, maybe in 4 or 5 years, if Cal's declining a little bit, you never know. That could be something we do dive into. And I'll worry about that in 5 years. So I'm still doing this in 5 years. My dogs are barking with excitement over the Cal Raleigh news. And I think that's, and like I said, I don't really care too much about the contract details. Obviously, if it'd been like 100 million a year, I might have gone like, ooh, that's a lot. But I think that's fair. I think all those numbers there, year by year, is completely fair for Cal Raleigh. I think that's what he's worth. I think it's great for the Mariners. I think it's great for Cal. He gets himself a pay raise, and the Mariners get a really good player locked up. And like I said, maybe get a little bit of goodwill back as well. I know some people have kind of talked about what does this mean for Harry Ford. I don't care. When I say I don't care, it doesn't mean I don't care about Harry Ford, but I don't really... I don't look at like, oh, you shouldn't sign this player because this guy's coming up behind him. Or now, if he gets too expensive or something, like, there are certain situations, if the Mariners had a big center fielder before Julio came up and he was up for free agency and just didn't want to sign here, then fine, you've got Julio. But I don't think you should just let good players walk because you might have a prospect ready to go. And for Harry Ford, it makes him more possible that he's traded this season, could learn another position, or, Mitch Garver's gone next year, more than likely, barring a huge bounce back season that makes them want to re-sign him for another year. He could be the number 2 catcher and maybe plays a little outfield if he can do a little of that this year in the minors. So there is ways that you can still have a guy like that playing on the major league roster. So I don't think it really changes anything. And it's not like Cal was a free agent, after this year anyway. So that doesn't really change anything from my perspective on what you would do with a Harry Ford. So some fantastic news. Listen, again, the reason I say the money doesn't matter, it's just sometimes you got to be excited. And Cal Raleigh is a great baseball player, and he's decided to stay with the Seattle Mariners. And we needed a little bit of good news, and that is definitely some good news. So enjoy it. We are 2 sleeps away from opening day. It's here. And as excited as I am, as soon as the Mariners grounded that first double play of the season, I'll be cursing this game that we love so much. Have a great one, everybody. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Mariners. Peace.